Hey, cool kids. Welcome into the Cool Grandpa podcast. I'm excited to have you join us as always. So, this week we have a return guest. Kevin Hall is joining us to talk about his new book Marketing on a Budget: Simple Steps for New Authors. Now, we're also going to talk about a second book that I'm not going to reveal the title of that just yet. So, you'll have to listen for that one. But Kevin is a retired professional who has written now 5 books and has really been front and center about learning how to market books on a shoestring. Now, one of the things that Kevin has done is he's put together, I believe, 47 consecutive months of selling books. And he's also been able to get a lot of free or complimentary promotion, is similar to this podcast, for his books and just getting his name out there. One of the biggest challenges that new authors have is being able to really get out and market their books. And Kevin's made a simple list that you can follow if you are a new author or an author who has several books and you want to learn how to better promote yourself and save a few bucks at the same time. Not everybody has Penguin or Random House or whoever behind us when it comes to writing. So be sure to listen to this conversation. Kevin and I have a blast, and you're going to enjoy this conversation. Before we get started, want to remind you, Buy Me a Coffee is a great way to help support this program, as well as going over to the website bookstore. And I've got links for all that into the show notes. So check out the website. There's links on there that you can use to help buy merchandise or support the podcast. And without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Kevin. Kevin Hall, welcome back to the Cool Grandpa podcast. I've missed you, buddy.
Yeah, same here, Greg. It was a lot of fun last time, and I'm looking to just pick up where we left off. So thanks for having me back on.
Well, this is going to be great because not only do you have just another book that's coming out that's going to be of service to authors, but you've also got a book right behind that that we're going to talk about as well. So you've been a busy beaver, as they say.
I absolutely have, and I've also redone my website. The previous website was built with HTML code, and it was good, but it was just a little bit cumbersome to keep updating it. And the new website I built with a tool called Tertulia, and a lot easier to update. And to that end, I also have brought my daughter into the business a little bit. She's a stay-at-home mom, homeschools her 2 daughters. And I said, I could use a little help if you want to learn a little bit more about this. And she had finished working for a company and decided, yeah, I think I do need a little something, but this keeps her a little bit busy. But she says, she tells me, Dad, this is so easy to update. And she's a techie, so I take it from her that yeah, it's easy. She handles that end of it. So it makes it a lot easier for me. But yeah, I've done the website. I've now got 2 books, and hopefully the one marketing book, Greg, will be able to have pre-order here pretty quick. I'm just waiting for Ingram Spark to give me the A-OK that everything's been accepted, and I can start the pre-orders.
Oh, that's awesome. And, you're talking about HTML, and I'm old enough to remember when I was at school building those websites with HTML. And then I was right there where XML was coming in to play on that as well. And so, yeah, at school where I work with a lot of young people, I talk about the code and like how you troubleshoot and where's your missing parentheses and where's this and where's that. And, and they just look at me like I've got like a third eye coming out of my forehead or something here.
It's amazing to see where it's gone and or come from, I should say, and what's gone before it. I was a programmer. That was my first career job, and I was programming in Fortran, a little bit of COBOL, assembler, basic, those languages. And now to see what they've got AI, and AI is actually doing the programming. And you mentioned commas. I used to get upset at the computer when I was programming, because if I left off a comma or a semicolon or whatever, we ran it through what was called a compiler, and the
Yep.
compiler then would let us know, hey, this is missing. Well, if you're smart enough to tell me it's missing, put it in. You know?
Oh, absolutely. That was, but I consider ourselves fortunate because I also had professors that would talk to us about the old punch cards and the reel to reel tapes and some of the things that they had to go through. And then they'd be like, oh, you HTML and your basic and your COBOL, all that stuff. It's so easy for you now. We used to have 3 different stacks of punch cards that were at different locations in case there was a fire, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yep. You mentioned punch cards. I mean, when I was working, my first company I worked for was Eastman Kodak Company as a computer programmer. They and the New York State Thruway were the largest users of punch cards in New York State at the time. And they would use them in their roll coding division. And the roll coding is where they would sensitize that later to make film. And we went in, when I say we, it was a group of us, and our job was to get them out of punch card and get them into relational databases. And so that's what I did for probably 2.5 years. And we brought the project in actually a little bit ahead of schedule and a little bit ahead of budget. And it worked out of the gate. They were very, very happy with it, but it got rid of all of the punch cards. So it was funny you mentioned that.
Yeah, I just remember all those old war stories that I'd hear from professors and even people that worked with my father was in the industry way back when all you would try to explain what he did and he'd just be like, just tell people I work with computers. And that was enough, right? That was, oh, okay, computers. And then the conversation moves on. Uh, I do want to jump in and ask you this question because when we were on before, we were definitely talking about grandfathers and men getting to this age, let's say 40s and over, retirement age, grandpa age, whatever you want to call it. That a lot of times it's natural for us to start to write, whether it's memoirs, childhood memories, things like that, but you've now gone a little bit further in that you're navigating platforms like Ingram Spark, KDP. You've got a website going, even if it's not coded the way we used to do it. When did you decide that you weren't finished building and that you weren't just going to be writing stories, but you're actually building a brand? You're actually building more things for yourself.
It's the type of thing, Greg, where I can't sit still. Um, yeah, I'm retired. And my wife will tell you, I spend a lot of time in the marketing of the books as much as I do the writing of the books. In fact, more on the marketing side. But it's the type of thing where I've got a lot of buddies, they're out golfing and pickleball and stuff like that. And yeah, that's fine for me once in a while, but that's not what I want to do every day. And because I'll be 69 in just a few weeks, that doesn't mean I, reserve my spot on the couch, turn the TV on, and that's the end of life. You have to keep moving. And so I started writing primarily to leave a legacy for the kids based upon the grandkids prompted me a lot to say, what were you like as a kid, Grandpa? And then after that, signs came, and I felt more compelled where I got to share this with people and give them the right, really, if they read it, to question. what we're seeing. And that's okay. You can do that. You can say this isn't coincidence. Something else has happened. And to me, I wanted to share that with everyone. Well, I'm also on a lot of YouTube lives. I'm on different webinars. I went to Author Nation last November out in Las Vegas. I'll be going again this November. And I talked to a lot of authors. And an interesting thing kept coming up here, there. They would say, we put our book out on Amazon, but it's not selling. You ask them, what are you doing? And it was like deer in the headlights. That's what they were thinking was once it made it to Amazon, boom, people would beat a path to their door and buy it. Well, there's millions of books out on Amazon, and I think something like 400 plus thousand new titles a year. You got a lot of competition out there. So you have to, uh, get out and do some marketing. And what I found was everyone, and I don't want to say everyone, there are a lot of folks have been in the business for a long time, and they're making money off from selling courses, and they're making money off of having quotes around it, masterclasses on how to sell more books. And what I've been doing, and I've been blessed, I'll say that right up front. Right now, Greg, 47 straight months of sales, and I've only spent $200. Well, in fact, a little less than $200.
Wow.
And I do that through a lot of different things. One of them is being on podcasts. And then you've got to share those podcasts and share them not just in their entirety, but pull little quotes out of it, little sections out of it. And there's tools out there you can use for that. And then share those. Marketing isn't a one and done. You have to show up consistently. And the buzzword of the last few years has been masterclass. The buzzword now is building your community. But that has always been the case. You need to build that community. Well, the reason I'm mentioning all this is all of what I've done to do this, I've put into the book called Book Marketing on a Budget: Simple Steps for New Authors. And every one of my techniques go into that. And I'll give you an example right now. And this goes to everyone sends out emails. You could send out 5, 10, 20 emails a day. And I'm not talking in business, I'm talking personal emails. What's your signature line look like? Do you at least say you're an author? Do you have your author website listed out there? Do you have a link over to the Amazon author page? Do you list your book or books out there? These are very simple things that you can do to let people know, hey, I'm an author. I wrote a book. You're not selling. And I think a lot of people have a hang up on selling. Um, Marketing really to me is you're telling your story. You're letting people know that, hey, this exists. It's like having any other conversation, but you're talking about you're an author. And who knows, that book may help other people. They may look at it and say, I need that now. They may also look at it and say, not for me. But at least you're letting folks know. And that's really what a lot of the folks who have done studies in this the last few years are now saying that's the greatest way to grow book sales and to grow readers. Tell your story, build your community. Your community then starts to tell your story for you. And pretty soon you've got a fabulous following, and they're waiting on you to release that next book. So I put all these techniques into this book. And the other thing I've done, I put the actual examples I used. Here's an example I used to get on a podcast. This is exactly what I said. Here's the example I used to send to the Alumni Association at my college, which led to 3 articles in their alumni newsletter. These things don't cost money. They cost a little bit of your time, but they don't cost money. And I talk to a lot of authors that say, look, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars just getting the book to be published. I don't have any money left. And I'm saying, you don't have to get started. Maybe after you start realizing some revenue coming in from sales, you might want to do ads with that. But now you're playing with the house's money. You're not taking money out of your pocket, because it could cost 2,000 to 10,000 or more to get your book developed, depending on how elaborate you want it. Do you want hardcover with all the edges of the pages stamped or painted? And these things cost money. So a lot of people just don't have the resources after it's published to go out then and market. So I try to help them out with this book, and I've kept the cost down. It's $15.99 for the book, and that's as cheap as I could get it. I do not use color pages. The cover's color, but the inside's black and white, again, to keep the cost down. I try to keep the words very succinct and use examples, so I don't have thousands of pages in there. I've got I think it was 188 pages. So this I'm calling my give back book, because I do want to give back for all the help that had been given to me and is still being given to me. And this is my way of helping others at least start to realize sales and have that thrill of knowing somebody else is reading their book. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
my story on that one.
yeah, well, and I want to unpack it a little bit, because you hit
Sure.
on a few different things, right? I think anybody that's sitting down, and I'm going to throw myself in there. I'm writing a fiction book. I'm doing some different things, but I know other people are too. I think everybody has a goal in mind, whether it's traditional publishing, some kind of a hybrid, or self publishing. But almost everybody now wants to know what your audience is. How you come, especially if you're thinking like, hey, I do want to shop this around. I want to find an agent. I want to do these things. Almost the first question, as far as I understand, is like, great, how many people on your mailing list? How many people do you already have in place for this? And so what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you're finding too, or am I just hearing from a certain group?
No, there's a lot of talk on building your mailer list, keeping it up to date, letting the folks know your book exists through that, running a blog, things along those lines. And now you've got AI entering the picture. And pretty soon, AI, you'll be able to buy books utilizing AI, and AI will actually be recommending books. But in order for it to recommend, AI needs to know you exist. So the way you do that, now we come, back around the circle again, by putting out blogs, by being on podcasts, taking the transcripts, and that's the other tip. And I just learned this a little bit ago, so that didn't even make it into the book. When you post parts of the podcast you were on, or the full thing, make sure you link to the transcript, because guess what AI finds? AI finds the transcript. It
Hmm.
finds the wording. And so it then can take in that information, keep it in its database until somebody asks the question where the answer can come from that information. And guess what? Then it uses and quotes you, and there you go. So I'm just learning a lot of this, and AI is, I don't want to say it's revolutionizing a lot of industries, it is, but it's impacting the publishing industry tremendously. You know, you got folks out there, and I hate to put it this way, but they're just taking what AI puts out, slapping a cover on it, and throwing it out there, and they're really diluting the book sales by doing that. Um, you know, and a lot of it, if you read it, the early stuff, I'll just say it, the early stuff was garbage. It was, I mean, just crap. But they were throwing out, you know, literally 100 books a day. Well, now the different publishing sites like Ingram and KDP, Drafted Digital, they now put a limit on how many books you can actually publish in a day because of that.
Mm.
So it's changing a lot of the industry. KDP just changed their algorithm for getting books recognized, and there's not as much emphasis on reviews as there once was. There's still an emphasis there, but it's more organic growth, that this person here is now convinced this person over here to buy the book, and now all these different folks are saying, oh, I got to buy the book coming in, and they're putting some emphasis there to realize sales. Now, you mentioned traditional publishing. A lot of the traditional publishing houses are hurting. They have really lost sales to the independent author. And part of the reason there is you could submit your manuscript. If they accept it, it could be 1 to 3 years before that book ever sees market. But then guess what? You're still going to have to do a good amount of the marketing yourself. So that hurt a lot of them. And, uh, you know, I see more folks entering into this realm of independent publishing. But I'll tell you this, Greg, the total number of authors as compared to the number of people out there, it's still floating around 1%.
Okay.
In fact, the last number I saw was 0.0086%. So
Gotcha.
not a whole lot when you look at the entire population are authors.
Well, and that leads me to a couple of things I want to hit on. One is the courage to start to put something out there. It's one thing for me to sit at my keyboard at night and be creating the best fantasy book ever typed. It's another thing for me to start to share it. But then at the same time, too, I think probably people of our generation and our age, we grew up with don't self promote. You know, don't promote yours. You know, don't be a
Yes.
braggart. Don't be a.
Yes.
So there is a little bit of grinding gears, as I like to call it, that you have to get over. What are some of the things that you found with your own journey, but then authors, one, having the courage to start to put things out on a blog or onto a podcast, and then getting through to that promotion so it's authentic promotion and not that braggart mindset, let's
Yes.
say.
Yes. Well, and that's a tough one. It really is. Because you're right. That was our generation. You know, don't brag. Well, they asked me about it. You don't have to go into all the detail. Don't brag. You know, and these were the messages we got. And it's hard to overcome a lot of our childhood messages. It just is. But I've also learned when you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Mm.
And that's something you need to internalize. And the way I do it is I take it away from sales. I don't like personally sales, but they're stories I want to tell. And there's stories that I have that if it can help this person over here, then I'm doing them a favor if I can let them know about that. But it's not like I'm going to go up to the door and knock on it and say, "Hey, I'm here and I got this great story to tell you." It's you put it out there, and at times you do have to wait to be invited, but you got to first present it. And that's part of that ask. And just get it out there. And it's like here, Greg, for us on this podcast, if I didn't ask the first time, I wouldn't be here for the second time. My college alumni newsletter, I sent them maybe a email with 5, 6 sentences in it. And the first couple were, look, here's who I am. I was in the class of 81. I graduated in comp sci, and I'm now a published author. If you'd like to know more about my story, I would be glad to tell you. Here's all my contact information, and here's my website. Thank you very much for your time. That's it. It wound up 3 articles being written. I mean, these are the types of things, if I didn't ask, the answer is no. So why not ask? And it gets easier. It's still always a little bit in the back. Should I? And I'll give you another quick example of where I'm doing that. Should I? With the Grace and Love book, my 5th book, I wanted to get a named person. He's in the entertainment industry. He's been married over 4 decades. I forget if is he in Georgia? He might actually be in Georgia, a 3,000-acre ranch down there. If I mention the name and he's a comedian, you would know it. And I've been trying to get him to write the foreword for the book. Now, I could sit back and say, I'm a nobody and all this, and let the self-doubt sink in. Or I could send him, his publisher, an email. And you can find their publishers. That's fairly easy to do. And their contact information is usually there. So you send them that. Well, I did a little bit more research. I found the ranch that he's on, and here's the address for it. I sent him a very nice short letter and said, well, what do I got to lose? So I sent that down to him, and I followed up 2 weeks later with an email. And that was just a week or so ago with that email. I'm hoping I hear something back. I have a fallback position if I don't. But this is how you have to put yourself out there. If you don't, if you say, well, that's not me, and you sit back like this and just hope and hope, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. The average independent author sells less than 100 books in their lifetime. And when you think about that and you look at what are they doing, well, they're sitting back and hoping and hoping and hoping. Not against, millions of titles out there. So you've got to get out, you've got to tell your story, you've got to let people know. But you can do it in a way that, now I'll bring this full circle back, Greg, that you're not bragging. You're telling your story, you're letting them know, and that's where you then can take and start to be noticed and start to build your community.
Sure. What are your thoughts as far as starting this process? If we're somebody, again, the scenario that I've got in mind is somebody that's had whatever kind of work career that they may have had, they're starting to get into this, whether they want to do a memoir, whether they want to do fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, finding a group to get associated with. Maybe it's at the library. Here in Atlanta, we've got the Atlanta Writers Club.
Yes.
And these different things to help both start that process, share your work, find that critique work. What are your thoughts as far as doing that as one of your initial steps?
Oh, absolutely. In this business, there is a lot to learn, and everyone starts at the same spot. And that is, we don't know what we don't know. And so like I said, I'm on many different webinars. One that I like, and I'll mention their names, is Book Launchers. And Julie Broad is the owner of the company Book Launchers. And they put out live events every Tuesday night. And then they have a couple times a year, they have a 2 or 3 day seminar. Another gentleman in the industry, Dale Roberts. Dale has a number of books out there to help authors with their publishing journey. And many of these books are ebooks that you can pick up and even go to the library and ask for them. The library is a great place to get started. Not only do they have a lot of book clubs that utilize the rooms at libraries at times, but they have a whole host of books on the subject. Go and start reading. Go out to YouTube. YouTube is flooded with a lot of author information. There's different places like Discord that has different places on it, and one of them is Dale Roberts Self Publishing, and he has a Discord site where you're amongst other authors and you can ask questions. And let me tell you, I have yet to meet a community like the author community for helping people. They love to share their stories. They love to help other people out. And I mean, that was kind of one of the catalysts behind me in this marketing book. I want to help other authors out from the marketing side. But these are just a few of the folks. Author Talk. That's another podcast with Amy and Russell. Russell Little. In fact, Russell, for a little bit of time, lived in Georgia. He's now moved back to Texas, but they're out of Texas. And they have a podcast that's in the top 10 on some channels. And it's called Author Talk. And that's on every Monday around 11 o'clock. That's Eastern time. But there's so many of these out there that, you know, you could spend a lot of time studying these things. And I've done that. And I'm not a big book reader to, find these different things. I'd rather be on a forum like this or a webinar and I absorb it better. As long as I can ask some questions, I absorb it a lot better. I'm a slow reader. And if I run across something, well, what exactly do you mean here? I can't ask that question at that time of the book. So with websites and YouTube's, even if you're not on at the time of a live event, you can always leave a question. And I have yet to have the person who's run whatever that is, not respond to me. Thomas Umstattd, Umstattd, I believe is his spelling of his last name. He has the longest running author podcast, and every Friday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock Eastern time, he's on telling about a lot of what's happening in the industry. Him and Jonathan both. Jonathan is his co-host. And I mean, it's just a lot of fun. A lot of authors are on it, and we're kibitzing in the comment section back and forth. And it's just a phenomenal community. Maddie Dalrymple, Joanna Penn. Joanna Penn, Penn, you mentioned her name. She is well known in the publishing industry, and she's out of Europe. And then you got Maddie Dalrymple here in the U.S., and Maddie's well known, and they have had websites for a long time. And these people love to help you out. Dr. Judith Bryles out in Colorado. She's also got a website. She does a lot of different things with Colorado authors. And I mean, it's just so much out there that you can link into. And once you do, you start to realize that this is a pretty good community You can ask questions. It's a very safe community. Nobody's going to make fun of you, and you can get the answers that you need to help you get to that next level. And to that end, I just love it. So I'm hoping that answered the question. I know it was kind of long winded, but
No, it did, because I always felt that whatever you're doing, whether it's you want to get into cross country skiing or snowshoeing or rappelling or whatever it is, it's finding the community that's going to both help you get into it and then support you on that journey,
yes,
right?
yes,
And part of that is going to help you just kind of blossom as a writer in this particular case, is being able to share a paragraph with somebody and have them, you know, you could take out half the words in this paragraph and look at how tight and concise this is, but they do it in a way that's supportive versus, oh, this sucks,
yeah.
when we redo it. I'm sure there's groups like that out there, but that's what you want to stay away from. You want the folks that are there to walk arm in arm with you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, it's funny you did mention the part about, well, this paragraph sucks. And yeah, you don't want to be around those people. But I will tell you, there's editors that you're going to pay to edit your book, and they may come back and tell you, this paragraph sucks, but here's why.
Hmm.
And that's okay. I'm paying them because I want them to help me make the book as best as it can be. And that's good. But if you're in a community of friends and they're telling you that, well, then you're not in the right community. And there's a lot of great folks out there. All you need to do is start engaging.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, and folks, just I think both of us encourage you, if you're thinking about a memoir, if you're thinking about doing anything, find somebody, find a group that you can start to share with. Even if you go and observe a little bit, a lot of times I think the groups will allow you to kind of go in and lurk and check out how things are, and make sure it's a good fit for you, and that you're a good fit for them.
Absolutely. And I will tell you this, start on the free side, because there is so much of it out there. I mentioned Thomas and the longest running podcast. That's free. I mean, he's got a Patreon if you want to join. That's fine. You don't have to. You're invited in. Um, Julie Broad and Book Launchers, same thing. And again, they have classes if you want to pay for them, fine. If not, you're welcome to be in their school. They have SKOOL school, and tons of authors hang out there, and we're always helping answer questions for everyone. So, start small, grow at your pace. You can grow as fast as you want or as slow as you want, but the information is there. Just, don't be afraid to look for it, and don't be afraid to ask.
No, that's great advice. And Kevin, we've been talking a lot about things that people should be doing. What are a few examples or war stories that maybe you have personally about things maybe authors shouldn't do when it comes to marketing?
Well, now I guess I'll go back to the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true. So you've got to really watch. There's a lot of scams out there. And again, if you're uncertain, do not commit to anything. Go to these forums and ask questions. And then there's a newsletter out there. It's actually email you can sign up for. Writer Beware. And they take and send out monthly and or weekly, depending on what they find, of a lot of scammed areas, and helping you to stay away from those things. There's a lot of publishing kinds of places that prey on folks to try to, essentially grab thousands of dollars from them, and, barely even deliver on what all the promises are. So that's what I tell people. Just be careful. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't true.
Oh, that's great advice. And I do want to shift a little bit before we get into starting to wrap up this conversation.
Mhm.
But what do you hope that the grandkids take away from watching you go down this path and in this journey of, complete career shift, complete everything? What do you hope that they get out of this?
Wow, there's so much into that. One is I hope by them reading my stories, in which they have, that they'll understand Grandpa a little bit better and understand the different stages that I went through, just like they're going through. They'll probably read the book again, maybe I'm thinking in their late 20s to 30. They might read it again in their 50s or when they start to approach retirement, because they'll take different things away from that at different times. So that's one of the things, is the legacy part. So I hope they will do the same thing, because I don't know, Greg, if we spoke about this the last time, but if you're not buried in a burial plot, many folks are getting cremated. Where will the family gather later on? Most likely they'll gather at one of their houses and they'll tell stories. Well, no, why not leave them the books, leave them the actual stories that they can go in, what do you think Grandpa was doing on this? Why did he say this? What do you think? Or they might even look at it and say, I see where Grandpa did this. Yeah, well, I kind of did this and it was kind of similar and I didn't realize it at the time. So and have some fun and connect with not only the family at the time, but connect with the past. There's so much in folks' history. And then when I was growing up, I didn't know some of my own family history. For example, Winston Churchill, I found out later on in life, was a relative.
Hmm.
I found out Lyman Hall, who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence out of Georgia, signed the Declaration. He's a relative. I mean, these things I didn't know about, but had we had some of these, it used to be the old family Bible, and people
Right.
would write stories and they'd put in newspaper clippings and stuff. And, it was very thick. Nowadays, we don't have that. So, in the future, what is it going to be like? So, that's really one of the things I want them to take away, that Grandpa told his stories. Let me tell my stories too. So that's one of the things. The other is, you don't just sit around when you're retired. Do some things, have some fun. What do you really want to do? And I'll say this, my son was working a phenomenal job. I mean, a very, very phenomenal, well paid. He was well respected, but he got to the point to where this wasn't for him, and he went an entirely different route. He got into audio engineering, got his master's degree, and now he's working in that field and absolutely loves it. And so that's just another thing that the kids, the grandkids can see. Look, you're not married to this one part that you're working at. You can do other things. Just understand what's going to come with that. And so that, I think, is another message. So I think from the grandkids' perspective, here's the legacy. Understand you're not going to, just sit around in your later years. Go do something. Find something interesting that really gets you charged, and go do it. And by the way, you don't even have to wait. If you're not enjoying what you're doing now, you can always switch. Just understand what that means at the time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Kevin, as we start to wrap things up here, I do want to ask you, give us a little bit of background about Grace and Love, a marriage outtakes, family bloopers, and 50 years of heartwarming moments. I think I got the whole title in there.
You did. That was the title and the subtitle. And I think the best way to describe it's like 50 pairings in the book. Now, what do I mean by pairings? On the left-hand side, as you open the book, you got a left-hand page, you got a right-hand page. Well, on the left-hand side is grace. On the right-hand side is love. And it's a little bit of yin and yang. All right. And the reason, Greg, we were mentioning it before we started recording, it's my 50th wedding anniversary in April. And this kind of came to me one day, and we went into it. I don't know, should I mention how we got into it? But it was because being older, a lot of times you have to get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. And so one night I got up, woke up to go use the bathroom. My wife was in there. So I waited and she came back in and I said, honey, love is me waiting patiently in the middle of the night to use the bathroom after you're finished. And that just kind of stuck in my mind, and this book came out of it. So what I've got is two pairings I took out of the book. I'm just going to read them to you. They're very short. You could get done in this book in 45 minutes to an hour,
Okay.
120 pages. So you could be done with it fairly quick. But this is the first one. Grace is helping plan magical Christmas traditions for the family, from cooking fabulous meals to matching ribbon colors to wrapping paper, creating moments of warmth, wonder, and excitement that the whole family cherishes. Love is me donning inflatable deer antlers and orchestrating a wacky ring toss game before the grandkids can collect their gifts, dodging and weaving like a festive fool, and secretly delighting in the laughter and memories we're making, even if I do look completely ridiculous.
Oh, I love it.
So that's one of them. The second one, Grace is realizing that years have traded in bikinis and tight-fitting swimwear for one-piece suits and swim trunks that look suspiciously like upscale long boxer shorts. The mirror may tell one story, but we just laugh and shrug because we've earned every stretch, sag, and sunscreen slathered inch. Love is looking at each other now and still seeing the person we fell for, only wiser, softer, funnier, and far more interesting. Time may have changed the packaging, but the treasure inside, that's only gotten better.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
So that's this whole book. And I go into even the grandkids, just the different stages. So that book, I really wanted it out by my anniversary. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I'm hoping now by Mother's Day.
It'll be great whenever it comes out. I think this is going to be fantastic. And Kevin, any last thoughts about book marketing on a budget that you would like to share with us before we wrap things up?
I think I mentioned quite a bit about it, Greg. The other thing is, these are actual things I've done to create sales. And I'm not selling something that is get rich quick, that, I'm not selling any workbooks or courses or any other kind of upsell. I put it all in the book. So you buy it, the tips are there. Another thing I'll say, there's two chapters in it on podcast. One gets into the type of equipment that you need for it. The other gets into more where you can find podcasts to be on. Something I call podcast piggybacking is in there. And these two chapters were reviewed by Alex Sanfilippo. Alex is the creator of podmatch.com. And then you've got Derek Depker, D-O-E, I think it's Doepker. And he's another one very big on podcasting and very big and giving self-publishing tips. Both of them have reviewed both of these chapters and have given it the thumbs up. So I'm very pleased with that. Again, all of it into the book, $15.99 when it comes out. And there's information on it with some of the tips, by the way, at my website, kevin-hall.com.
Okay, awesome. And where's the best place for people to get connected with you on social media or whatnot? Is all that at the website, or do you have different sites or handles or whatever they
No,
call it?
you can link to all of it right from the website. You can go to the Facebook link is there, the LinkedIn one, the Instagram one. They're all there, as well as all of my books are listed out there. Writing tips, marketing tips, all of the podcasts I've been on, which I'm approaching 50 of them now. The ones that are still up are listed out there, and you can jump over to them. And I mean, there's a contact page there for me. We packed a lot into this website, and I'm very, very happy with it. Very, very easy to navigate.
Yeah, that's one of the things when I was over there. It's um as people would say, it's very clean. It's very, like you said, easy to navigate. 3 clicks and you're anywhere on that
Yes.
website. So very user friendly. Um, Kevin, this has been a blast having you back on the Cool Grandpa podcast. I've appreciated your time. I'm going to link back to our original conversation so people get more of your background, that sort of thing, and learn about you even more. So I just want to say good luck with these 2 books. I'm really excited for both of them to come out. They're going to be a big impact for people. And, one's going to give you a good checklist on things to do as a new or newer author, and the other one's just going to put a smile on your face.
Oh, absolutely. And you just mentioned something that it dawned in my head. You mentioned checklist. In the back of the book is an appendix on the marketing book, and it's 28 days. You can go down through at your own pace. I just put out little steps so that here's a calendar if you want to follow it, or if you think it's too aggressive, great. Do this for, instead of for the first week, maybe you take the first couple and just do those. But the thing is, you have to start. This helps lay it out for you. Again, referencing back into the book to say, all right, this is how I did it. So when I tell you, send out a email to your high school alumni or college alumni, go find it, copy it, change a few of the things, and send it out. And remember, when you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Oh, that's awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really have enjoyed this conversation. Hope you have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you, Greg. This has been a lot of fun, and thanks again for having me back.
I had a really great time reconnecting with Kevin. In fact, I wish I'd kept the recording going because he and I got into some great old stories about technology, the growth of technology, especially with Kodak, Xerox, Menlo Park out in California, all that stuff that really blew up in the 80s and into the early 90s, and just how some of these big organizations couldn't pivot, couldn't take advantage of the intellectual properties that they had. I mean, Kodak had digital cameras back in the late 70s. Xerox had touchscreen and was leading the way on digital formats for saving documents. That's crazy. One thing that's not crazy, though, is for you as a new author, as somebody that's writing their memoirs, to go over to kevin-hall.com, check out Kevin's website, look for his book about how to market yourself, go through his checklist, do everything that he's asking for. You're investing a few $100s, and it's a great way to promote your book, promote yourself, and really get noticed as an author. Kevin had a blast being with us. Like I said, we had a good time. So I hope you enjoyed this. If this show really helped you out, made you think, if you have somebody in your life who's writing a book, be sure to share this with them. they would enjoy learning more about Kevin's success, what he's done to being an author with 47 consecutive months of selling books. That's not an easy feat in this day and age with so many books out there. So I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, remember to stay cool.